Crystia!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. No clickbait on the title today. We're talking about a real issue here in Alberta. We're talking about a real issue in Canada as the Liberal government, the federal government, provincial governments are now officially all declaring war on Alberta as Danielle Smith has put her foot down in terms of playing ball with a quote-unquote Team Canada approach as to Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, before we get into the content, I just want to remind everybody that censorship is at an all-time high, especially on this channel. If you're enjoying the content, please hit the subscribe button. Let's see if we can hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Make sure to leave a thumbs up and a comment on the way out. It helps push the video out for other people to see this. With that being said, let's get on to what is happening today as divisiveness is at an all-time high. And it begs the question, is Alberta headed for separation? I think there's a possibility. There's a scenario I'm going to discuss here today on the video, and let's just paint a picture first. Let's talk about what's going on. Danielle Smith tweeting this out the other day after all premiers had met, stating that she's not jumping on board with this Team Canada approach. When you look at what's happened in Alberta over the last 10 years specifically, forget the last few decades, as Alberta has been poorly treated by the federal government and by Canada. But over the last decade with Justin Trudeau, Canada has been crippled from fracking its oil, from getting its oil to market. Pipelines have been shut down. Everything has been done to essentially dismantle Canada. You now, in fact, have Rachel Notley, former NDP Grinch of Alberta, who stepped down and resigned, by the way, stepping back in to say that Danielle Smith should just play ball with everybody, that, you know, if the NDP were in charge, well, none of this would be happening. We'd just be bowing down and helping out Canada. What happens when we help out Canada is we're essentially going to war with Donald Trump. We're telling Donald Trump that, hey, this is the only card we have on the table. We're going to fight back against America's tariffs. Donald Trump's tariffs were pretty laid out in terms of what he needed in order to stop them. He told Justin Trudeau to take control of his border. Rather than taking control of his border, they've now picked a fight with Alberta. It's Alberta's fault for not going to war. So here is Danielle Smith's statement. How about this for building a Team Canada approach? 1. Stop threatening the livelihoods of tens of thousands of Albertans and Canadians via energy export tax and ban. Immediately start construction on the Northern Gateway and Energy East pipelines to diversify our customer base to Europe, Asia, and our own country. Again, the liquid natural gas. There's been countries like Germany that came out looking for natural gas at one point. Justin Trudeau said, sorry, we're not interested. Tell Germany, Japan, and the rest of the world that there is, in fact, a business case for Canadian oil and gas to be sold to them. Again, Pierre Poilievre makes a statement. We're going to show a little bit of those clips a little later on, that this could have defunded Putin had we have done this in enough time. Repeal the unconstitutional and job-killing production cap, electricity regulations, and Bill C-69. Treat with respect and as an equal partner the Alberta taxpayers that have been transferring hundreds of billions to Quebec, the Maritimes, and even Ontario for decades. Let's start there on building our Team Canada approach, shall we? So Danielle Smith has put her foot down. Alberta's not playing ball. You can't treat Alberta like the redheaded stepchild of Canada and then expect us to come back in your darkest hour and say, no problem, we'll do everything you ask again. We'll just bend over. We'll sacrifice Albertan jobs. We'll sacrifice our oil products. We'll sacrifice our main export so that Canada feels better about the destruction they've caused. The problem now is you've got multiple outlets, including Albertan ones, that are going to war over this with Danielle Smith. The virtue signalers, the SJWs, the people that essentially don't get it or are paid to not get it. Look at this. You've got Don Braid, hippie who works for the Calgary Herald. Smith should have grabbed the pen and signed. She leaves Alberta vulnerable. No, she doesn't. We're not even going to highlight this article beyond this statement. I'm not going to show the article. It's disgusting. It's nothing but virtue signaling. Here's the biggest problem. That now what you're going to see in politics, what you're going to see, the reason I talk about separation, the reason that I point towards separation is that the Liberals, with Mark Carney running, with Chrystia Freeland jumping into the race, they all want the tariffs. Military Barbie, Melanie Joly, they all want the tariffs to come. They keep threatening Donald Trump. They keep threatening everything is on the table. They keep talking about Team Canada, Team Canada, Team Canada. The reason those two phrases are being uttered is because with Alberta not participating, with Alberta not jumping on board, this is their opportunity to paint Alberta as the villains. That when the tariffs come in, it's not Justin Trudeau's fault for not securing the border. It's not the Liberals' fault for not securing the border or trying to work with Donald Trump. Keep in mind, they set Dominic LeBlanc as well as Melanie Joly down to Mar-a-Lago after Justin Trudeau, and all of them essentially just put our cards on the table and said we're screwed if we don't have the help of the United States. Danielle Smith, on the other hand, went down to Mar-a-Lago and had a very positive meeting. In fact, those meetings concluded with her explaining to Donald Trump why Alberta's energy is important to America, the amount of bitumen that we transfer every year in terms of produced barrels of oil to the United States from Alberta. She made a case. She has shown that she has done everything to make sure that Alberta's border is secured with the United States. And it seems like from the photos that came from that meeting, there was a very successful meeting with Donald Trump. Now, again, as we paint this picture, I'm going to talk about where I think things could go and why separation is possibly on the table. But what you're going to see here with Pierre Poilievre, with Danielle Smith, is that the Liberal Party is now going to point fingers at Pierre, saying that he's the next Donald Trump, that he is in bed with Donald Trump, that he supports Alberta where he's from, that he is just as bad as Danielle Smith. This is all to get the country to hate Alberta even more than they already do. You can see that here with this tweet from, first off, forwarded to me from Yazin Boko. Thank you so much. Government.exe. Justin says that every premier yesterday decided to put Canada first, except for Danielle Smith. He says it's time she put Canada first, just like Canadians put Alberta first when they bought Trans Mountain Pipeline. I'm sorry, the pipeline you delayed and dismantled, that you bought in order to shut down? Like, this is the problem, is that Justin Trudeau has gone out of his way with the No More Pipelines bill. He's shut down Energy East. He's done all of this because he hates and despises Alberta. But now he wants to play the victim card because it plays to his politics. This is how you sow divisiveness within a country. Let's take a listen.
I think it was really important yesterday as we met with first ministers from across the country that premiers have an opportunity to express the interests of their citizens, of their industry, of their area. Certainly, I don't blame Danielle Smith for speaking up for her industry. That's part of her job. But every single premier other than Danielle Smith then chose to put Canada first and say, but we're all part of Team Canada because what happens to any part of us happens to all of us, and we will be there to respond strongly, to fight for Canada, and to do it in a united way that makes sure that it's fair across all industries, across all regions. That was what we came together yesterday to do. I would actually like to point out to Danielle Smith that Canadians know the importance of standing up for each other. That's why Canadian taxpayers bought the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, TMX, to be able to get Albertan oil to new markets.
No. You have shown, Mr. Dictator, that you bought that pipeline out of taxpayer dollars to shut it down, to delay it, to essentially block oil from going out of Alberta. If anybody would like to prove me wrong, feel free. But his actions have spoken louder than words. Now, when he talks about Canada coming together, all people agreeing to play ball at the table, that they've put Canada first. How often has Justin Trudeau put Canada first over the last 10 years? How often has Justin Trudeau said it's within Canada's best interest to get its products to market? Not just its oil and gas, but its manufacturing, its agriculture. How often has Justin Trudeau truly had Canadians' backs as his crippling COOF restrictions bankrupted this country and they printed money? Keep in mind that during that time, his net worth went from $9 million to over 120. The words that come out of his mouth, first off, I don't even know why he's still holding press conferences. He's on his way out. He's resigned. I understand that he's still labeled as the prime minister. This is too little too late. Not only too little too late, if he was serious about it, it's too little too late. He's not serious at all. He's painting the picture for divisiveness. This is what he's best at. When you look at his last election during the pandemic, it was all about fear. It was, if you support the Conservatives, you're supporting dirty, unjabbed people. You don't want to get on a plane or a train with those people. Your lives are at risk unless you vote Liberal. And of course, he got his minority government and immediately put through his deal with the NDP. Fear is a great tool. But now as Mark Carney steps to the plate, Justin Trudeau is painting a picture that Pierre Poilievre and Danielle Smith are only in it for resources, for money, for corruption. They're all in it for Alberta. That's where they're from. Alberta's the enemy. It goes beyond that. This article with Tubby McFatass here and his cheesecakes. Canada's not for sale. If Alberta Premier Danielle Smith intends to defy an all-party, all-province national consensus on how to respond to Donald Trump's tariff threats, she should call a provincial election and get a mandate to do so. I hate to burst this article's bubble. She had a mandate given to her over a year ago to look out for the best interests in Albertans. And she's doing that. She has done that, by the way, as the only premier or government official, aside from Trudeau's lackeys, that have made the attempt to reach out to Donald Trump. Pierre Poilievre still hasn't reached out to Donald Trump. However, he has stated, and I will give him a little bit of pushback, that he has stated he has no power, which he doesn't. So what's the point? There is no point. But Danielle Smith is the only active form of government that has gone down to try and actually negotiate with Trump, to actually reason with Trump on his tariffs, rather than go down there and declare war. But again, as you have Doug Ford, who's he's a closet liberal. He's not conservative. Fighting Alberta, saying that Alberta's in the wrong. We're all in the wrong. Now that Donald Trump has his foot on Canada's neck, well, we love Alberta. We want to work with Alberta. We want to help Alberta as much as possible. Where were you guys 10 years ago? Where were you guys 2 years ago? Nobody cared. This is what happens when you're in an abusive relationship. The push for separation, and where I think separation is going to come from, are two places. You're going to see the country divide right now. You're going to see, again, this picture continue to be painted, that Pierre Poilievre is the bad guy, that all everybody cares about is their oil in Alberta, that Danielle Smith is a terrible person, that she's allowing Trump's tariffs to come in. Take your mind off the distraction for 2 seconds and realize Justin Trudeau had every opportunity to fix this problem and chose instead to complain and threaten Donald Trump rather than secure his border. Justin Trudeau also ignored the country's needs and the country's ability to be a domestic powerhouse by cranking out its resources. For 10 years, we could have been refining our own oil and gas by sending it through Energy East to the East Coast. Instead, he listened to Quebec. He listened to them while they dumped toxic waste in the St. Lawrence River about how important the environment is, and shut down Alberta because, just like his daddy, he has a vendetta against the province. You're going to see a lot of people talking about division and separation. You're going to hear a lot of people in Alberta now starting to get their backs up about separation. Why? Because a target has been put on our backs. A target has been put out there for people to now say, hey, look, if the country doesn't want us, we're ready to go. We'll leave. And keep in mind that Donald Trump teasing 51st state, it's not just about Canada. Donald Trump doesn't need Canada. He wants Alberta. He wants more than just Alberta. I understand, when we talk about the Northwest Territories, when we talk about fresh water, when we talk about a lot of different things, the main objective here is the oil and bitumen. If we were to get that to market, if we were to be a part of the United States, that would make them a domestic powerhouse to increase their oil capacity as well as their net worth as a country, their GDP. What I could foresee happening are one of two things here. I think that Danielle Smith knows something we don't. I think that Danielle has gone down to Mar-a-Lago. She's had a very productive meeting with Donald Trump. And there's something that we don't know that's been discussed. Whether that is tariffs across Canada, except for Alberta, I don't know how that would work. That's a kind of bonkers idea. Or the tariffs come through and Alberta plays ball just for a little bit until a new government gets in. Hopefully they're relying on conservatives. I don't know what the case is there, but I think that a deal has been made in some fashion that Danielle is satisfied to go along with Donald Trump's plans, because why else would she come home and push back against the Team Canada approach? Why would she push back against Justin Trudeau and the federal government? Well, there's a handful of reasons. But why now would she take the stance that Alberta's not playing ball? Unless, of course, she's come to an agreement with Donald Trump. When we talk about divisiveness, when we talk about the cries for separation, in a perfect world, a perfect setting, follow me here, what I think could happen is that for Donald Trump to come in and essentially buy Canada or make Canada the 51st state, a lot of people say he could come in by force, he could just take it. There's a lot of legal hurdles to cross when that happens. Keep in mind that in order to take over a country, our current government, as well as the Crown, would have to agree to giving up the country to somebody like Donald Trump. This is economic warfare. What you're going to see possibly is the divisiveness grow. You're going to see the push in Alberta grow. And while people are happy to be Canadian, I'm a proud Canadian. I love my country. But when you see the divisiveness come in, if Mark Carney were to take the Liberal leadership, and if Mark Carney were to dwindle Pierre's numbers enough that Pierre either ends up with a minority government or Mark Carney wins another Liberal seat, you're going to see people in Alberta essentially give up. You're going to see people in Alberta put their hands up and say, we can't do this anymore. The cause for separation is going to grow. The demand for separation is going to grow. And that's when you may see a referendum in Alberta in a perfectly painted picture. Again, I'm not saying it's coming, but this may be the cause for separation and the talk of separation to grow. You could see Alberta with a referendum, Alberta agreeing to separate, and when Alberta leaves Confederacy, not only is the rest of Canada screwed in terms of its transfer payments, and people have been saying for years, if Alberta leaves, they're landlocked. Well, that's an opportunity for Donald Trump to come waltzing in and essentially say, I just want Alberta. We're going to take Alberta. What is happening in our country now is extremely divisive, and it's damaging. It's damaging. It's scary to think about. Pierre Poilievre is going to be painted as a villain here. Let's take a look at what he had to say as he backed Danielle Smith and her decisions.
I think that the first thing that President Trump should do when he gets into the Oval Office is to send a big bouquet of flowers to the Liberal government in Ottawa. By blocking pipelines and LNG plants in Canada, the Liberals have forced Canadians to sell almost all of our energy to the United States, giving President Trump massive leverage in making these tariff threats. Had they allowed the Energy East and Northern Gateway pipelines to go ahead, had they rapidly approved LNG plants to sell the natural gas that Japan, Greece, Germany, and other countries were looking for us to sell them directly, we wouldn't have to give 100%, almost 100% of our hydrocarbons to the Americans at discount prices, and you wouldn't have had to ask me that question. Because I would have answered, in that scenario, I would have answered, we'll go around the Americans. We'll sell our energy directly. But that's something that the Liberals would not let us do. Freeland supported killing the Energy East pipeline, which would have moved 1 million barrels of Western oil to the St. John refinery and off to Europe, by the way, which would have helped defund Putin. Carney testified in the industry committee that he was against the Northern Gateway pipeline to take Canadian oil to Asia without going through the United States, by the way, while his company buys pipelines in the Middle East and in Brazil. How unpatriotic is that? So, frankly, the Liberals have got us in this mess by making us beholden to the Americans and giving the Americans our energy at massive price discounts, selling our oil for $15 typically below the market rate, and selling them natural gas for $4 per million metric British thermal units when they're going for $13 in Europe. That is economic sadomasochism, and I will put an end to it. When I'm Prime Minister, we will repeal the anti-energy law C-69. We will rapidly approve LNG plants and any other private sector unsubsidized investments to expand our ability to sell our energy without going through the Americans. And I will unite our people. We see right now that not only have the Liberals weakened our economy, now they're resorting to dividing our people. Divide and conquer. Right when the president is threatening us with tariffs, what is the first thing the Liberal Party of Freeland and Carney think to do? Divide Canadians.
And that is exactly what I'm getting at. They're dividing Canada because it's part of their plan. It's all part of their globalist plan. Set everybody apart so we can attack, we can paint a picture. Pierre standing up for Alberta here, standing up for pipelines. Keep in mind that when he says he's going to repeal C-69, he's going to put in LNG plants, he's going to domesticate our foreign oil. What he's done here is put a target on his back for the machine to go up against him. And they're going to paint a picture that this guy is the villain, that he's just like Donald Trump. If the attacks that you thought have come his way already comparing him to Donald Trump were bad, this is only going to get worse. But Pierre does have a message for Donald Trump. Let's take a listen to what he has to say.
The free ride is over. The era of liberal tax increases and anti-development policies that have driven $500 billion of our money south of the border is over. I will be cutting taxes, removing red tape, and unleashing free enterprise to bring home hundreds of billions of dollars of production and paychecks to this country. We will be a fierce free enterprise economy that delivers powerful paychecks to our people, that will allow anyone from anywhere to achieve anything, that guarantees that hard work gets you a powerful paycheck that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods.
This is what a leader looks like. And that's damaging to the liberal World Economic Forum powerhouse. What we're about to see, the reason I get it's a long video, folks, I don't like making videos this long typically, but the reason is to show the broader perspective here, to not fall for the distraction, to not fall for the divisiveness. I can tell you as an Albertan, I'd like to remain Canadian. I am Canadian. I hold a Canadian passport. Canada is my country, true north, strong, and free. But at the end of the day, it doesn't come down to Canada anymore. The question that Albertans are going to be asking themselves as this divisiveness grows, as the threat of Mark Carney or Chrystia Freeland getting their claws on this country grows, the question starts to come around to Albertans of, is the Canada I once knew dead and gone? Is it unsavable? Is it unsalvageable at this point? Is it lost? Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney, and Chrystia Freeland, as well as the rest of the Liberals, are going to be doing what they do best. In the next coming months, they are going to try to divide as best as they can. What we need to do as Canadians, as Albertans, is support Pierre Poilievre. We need to support Danielle Smith. We need to support our leaders that have Canada's best interests at heart, that want what's best for Canada, and actually want to secure our border, that actually want to see our products get to market, and actually see Canada thrive once again the way that it should have decades ago, as far as I'm concerned. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think separation will grow in Alberta? Do you think that this is all by design? Let me know your thoughts down below. Leave a thumbs up and a comment. Again, on the way out, it helps us out. If this is your first time here, again, I hope this video has earned your subscription. It's more critical than ever now, folks. Hit that subscribe button if you like the content. Make sure to turn on your bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, my live streaming show where we go over everything that happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some back and forth and Q&A within our community, joined by my very beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe. We look forward to hearing what you guys have to say each and every Friday night here on the channel, and I look forward to seeing you this Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, down in the chat. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this very long video and have a great rest of your weekend. I'll catch you on the next one.